The silent warning. The galaxy was vast, filled with empires that stretched across thousands of stars. Rulers sat on golden thrones believing they controlled everything. Among them was the Galactic Empire, proud and arrogant. Its fleets darkened the skies of many worlds. No one had ever dared to defy them. But one day a strange signal appeared. It came from the edge of the empire, from a small blue planet named Earth. The message was not loud, not violent, it was calm, almost quiet, yet inside that calmness there was a warning. To the Galactic Empire, the message began. Do not cross the skies of Earth, do not send your fleets here. This is your only warning. When the message reached the Senate of the Empire, laughter filled the great hall. The senators in their shining robes mocked the words. They spoke of humans as if they were insects, weak and small, a minor world with no power. How dare they speak to us like this, one senator roared, his voice echoing. We are the Empire, the chosen rulers of the stars, and they dare to warn us, but hidden behind the laughter, some admirals felt a chill. The way the message was delivered was strange. It carried no fear, no desperation, only certainty. Humans did not beg, they did not plead. They only warned. In the Admiralty chambers, the great commanders of the fleet gathered. Maps of stars glowed around them. Earth was displayed as a small dot of blue. This is their home, one admiral said. A planet of water, forest, and stone. Hardly a threat. Another admiral leaned closer. Then why warn us? Weak species beg for mercy. But these humans do not beg, they threaten. They must believe they have something we do not know. Still, the High Council of War dismissed the doubts. They believed in numbers. They believed in power. And their fleets numbered in the thousands. They had crushed dozens of rebellions, burned countless worlds. What could a single planet do against them? Yet far away on Earth, humans watched the stars with steady eyes. Scientists, soldiers, and leaders gathered in deep underground chambers. They had studied the Empire for years. They knew the arrogance, they knew the hunger, and they knew one day the Empire would come. The warning they sent was not empty. It was a line drawn in the void. Earth was not rich in gold. It was not filled with rare resources. But it was filled with something the Empire could never understand. Willpower in the quiet of a war room under the mountains. A human general stood before his people. They will laugh at our warning, he said. They will believe we are weak, but when they come, they will see. They will learn what humanity truly is. Above the planet, hidden in shadows, human warships waited. They were not as many as the Empire's fleets, but each one was crafted with precision, with technology sharpened by survival. They were not meant to invade. They were meant to defend, and to strike like lightning. The Empire, blind to this, prepared to send a fleet. The Senate declared, teach them humility. Show the galaxy what happens when a small world dares to challenge us. Cheers rose across the chamber. Banners of conquest waved, and the drums of war echoed, but back on Earth, there was no fear, only silence. Families lived their lives under the blue skies, but deep in the oceans, under the soil, in hidden stations on the moon, preparations were complete. The silent warning was not just words, it was the final chance for peace. One young human scientist stared at the stars, whispering, they do not know us. They think we are prey, but they will learn. They will all learn. The first human message had ended with 7 words that spread like fire across the Empire's records. Words that would haunt them. Words that carried the weight of all humanity. Earth is not to be messed with. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, the Empire's fleet began to move, unaware that they were stepping into the jaws of something far greater than they imagined. The Empire ignores. The fleet of the Galactic Empire moved like a storm across the stars, endless ships of steel and fire. Banners of the Empire glowing on every hull. In the Senate, pride filled the air. Their words were filled with arrogance. They had ignored the warning from Earth. They are only humans, said a senator draped in gold, a primitive race that barely touched the stars. Their warning is nothing but a child's roar. The chamber erupted in laughter, the echo of it spreading through the marble pillars. But not everyone laughed. Hidden in the shadows of the Senate, a few quiet voices whispered, what if the humans are different? What if their warning was not a bluff? But those whispers were drowned by the Empire's pride. An admiral named Varric stood before the council. His scarred face hard as stone, he had fought rebellions. He had seen strange weapons before. Yet even he could not deny his doubts. I suggest we study Earth first, he said slowly. We send scouts, we watch, before we strike. But the High Lord of the Navy slammed his staff down. Nonsense, he shouted. The Empire does not waste time with insects. We do not study ants before stepping on them. "Prepare the invasion fleet," and so the order was given. 1,000 warships gathered at the edge of the Sol system. They were massive vessels with blazing weapons, ships that had conquered dozens of worlds. Their captains were eager, expecting an easy victory on one of those ships. A young alien officer whispered to his commander. "Do you think the humans will fight?" The commander sneered. "Fight? No, they will kneel. All creatures kneel before the Empire. They will learn their place." But back on Earth, humans watched every move. Deep in command bunkers under mountains and oceans, screens glowed with the images of the incoming fleet. Generals and scientists stood side by side. A human leader, older and calm, raised his voice. "They ignored our warning," he said. "They chose arrogance. Now they will see what it means to wake a sleeping giant." The preparations were silent but precise. Weapons locked, ships hidden in dark corners of space. Earth's fleets did not match the Empire in number, but every ship was ready to strike. Every pilot carried determination sharper than steel. Above the planet, cloaked vessels drifted like shadows, invisible to the Empire's eyes. Satellites turned their lenses toward the stars, recording every movement in a quiet room. A human scientist adjusted a control panel. "They think we are primitive," he whispered. "They see only our surface. They do not see the fire beneath." Meanwhile, the Empire's fleet commander gave his final speech. His voice thundered across the command decks. "Today we show the galaxy the power of the Empire. We crush Earth, we burn their skies. And their warning will be nothing but dust." The soldiers cheered. Their claws and fists raised. They believed victory was certain, but not one of them knew the truth. Not one of them knew that humanity had waited for this moment, had planned for this very arrogance. As the fleet moved closer, strange signals flickered through their systems. Odd codes and patterns. The aliens dismissed them as interference, but they were not. They were tests. Humanity's silent hand brushing against their machines. Learning, watching, preparing. In the Senate, reports came of the fleet's advance. Senators clapped their hands. "Confident of glory," one senator said with pride. "Soon we will drink under the skies of Earth. Soon their people will serve us." But far across the void, a different truth was unfolding. For every mile the Empire's fleet moved, humans learned more. Every signal, every formation, every weakness. In the darkness of Earth's orbit, a young pilot sat in her fighter, her hands steady, her eyes fixed on the stars. She whispered to herself, "They think we are weak, but soon they will understand Earth is not prey." And so the Empire ignored the warning, blind in its pride, deaf in its laughter. And as its great fleet entered the edge of the solar system, the galaxy held its breath, for something was about to awaken, something the Empire was not ready to face. First contact clash. The Empire's fleet reached the edge of the solar system. 1,000 ships lined in formation, their dark hulls reflecting the cold light of distant stars. The commanders smiled with arrogance. They believed Earth was already theirs. "Prepare orbital strike patterns," the fleet commander ordered, his voice sharp. "We will crush their defenses before they even raise a weapon." But the moment their ships entered the system, strange signals flickered again. Their scanners twisted. Their communications crackled. Small errors began to appear across their systems. The aliens dismissed them as static, but deep inside their machines, humanity was already whispering, already watching from a hidden base on the moon. Human generals stared at glowing screens. "They are blind," one officer said softly. "Our systems are inside theirs. They do not even realize in orbit around Earth, human ships moved out of the shadows. They had been waiting in silence, cloaked with technology that bent light and sound. They were fewer in number, but every ship was designed to strike like lightning. The Empire's fleet advanced, its massive battleships glowing with fire. But suddenly a voice echoed through their systems. It was calm, steady, almost cold. "You were warned," the voice said. "Leave now, or face consequences." The Empire's commanders froze for a moment, their eyes narrowing. "The humans dare to speak again," one growled. "Ignore them. Continue the attack." But before the order was complete, the first human strike came out of the black void. Beams of energy tore through an Imperial cruiser, splitting it in half. The wreckage burned as it spun into the dark. The alien crews screamed in shock. Alarms blared across their ships. What was that? Where did it come from? Captains shouted, but they could not see. The human vessels vanished as quickly as they appeared, striking like shadows. On the Empire's command ship, the Admiral roared, "Find them, scan every sector. How can a primitive world hide such weapons?" But the scans showed nothing. The humans moved like ghosts. Their ships slipped between sensors, striking again and again. Every attack precise, every strike deadly. On Earth, inside a war room, a human commander gave the order. Do not waste fire, every shot must count. We cannot match their numbers, but we can make them bleed. The battle turned into chaos. The Empire unleashed volleys of plasma and missiles, but they struck only empty space. Humans attacked from blind spots, disabling engines, cutting power, vanishing before counterfire could land. On one Imperial ship, a terrified officer screamed, "They are everywhere, they are nowhere, we cannot see them." His captain struck him down in rage, but even the captain's hand shook in the silence of space. Human pilots stayed calm, their voices steady. "Target locked," one whispered. "Firing now," another answered. "Strike complete." Pulling back, they fought not with fear, but with precision. The Empire's fleet, once proud and unstoppable, began to fracture. Panic spread like fire. Commanders shouted over one another, demanding order. But the humans had already seized the flow of battle. Inside the Senate chambers of the Empire, a messenger burst in, trembling. "Reports from the fleet," he cried. "Ships destroyed, ambushed. Our weapons useless against them." The senators froze. Their laughter gone. Fear replaced their pride back on Earth. The general watched the stars, his voice low. "They ignored us, and now they see. This is only the beginning." Above him, human ships glided through the black sky, their hulls cold and silent, their weapons glowing for the next strike. The first clash was not a war of numbers. It was a lesson written in fire and wreckage. The Empire had mocked humanity, but now their mighty fleet was bleeding. And somewhere in the burning remains of a broken cruiser, an alien officer gasped his final words. "We should have listened." The Empire-shaken news of the first battle spread like fire across the galaxy. The Galactic Empire, once feared as untouchable, had been struck down by a single small world. Fleets that once ruled with iron had limped back home, broken and bleeding in the Senate chambers. Silence filled the hall. Senators who once laughed at Earth's warning now sat pale and shaken. Reports floated in the air, holograms showing shattered ships and dead admirals. The pride of the Empire was wounded. "How is this possible?" one senator whispered. "How could a primitive planet do this to us?" another shouted in rage, his voice echoing against the golden walls. "They must have stolen technology. They cannot be this strong." They cannot be. But the truth was hard to deny. The humans had not only fought back, they had humiliated the Empire. Their fleet had vanished like shadows. Their weapons had cut through Imperial armor as if it were paper. An admiral stood in the chamber, his face pale. "We underestimated them," he admitted. "They are not weak, they are not prey, they are hunters." And we walked into their jaws. The High Lord of the Empire slammed his staff against the ground, sparks flying. "Enough!" he roared. "We are the Empire, we do not bow to insects. If the first fleet failed, then we send another, bigger, stronger. We will bury Earth beneath fire." Cheers rose from some senators, desperate to cling to their pride, but others sat in silence, fear eating away at their arrogance. They had seen the reports. They knew humanity was different. Far from the Empire's halls, whispers spread across alien worlds. In bars, markets, and dark alleys, people spoke of Earth, the planet that had defied the Empire, the planet that fought like no other. Fear turned into curiosity, curiosity into respect back on Earth. Preparations continued in hidden cities under the seas. In bunkers carved into mountains, humanity worked day and night. Every factory burned with light. Every shipyard forged steel in one hidden base. A young engineer wiped sweat from his forehead, staring at a massive warship under construction. "The Empire will not stop," he said. "They will come again. And this time, they will come with everything." The general beside him nodded, his voice steady. "And we will be ready. We warned them once, now they will learn the second lesson." The price of arrogance. Above Earth, human warships drifted in silence, their hulls patched and repainted after the first clash. Every crew member knew the Empire would return, but not one of them feared. Instead, they sharpened their resolve on the other side of the galaxy. The Empire's shipyards roared with activity. Thousands of new vessels prepared. Dreadnoughts the size of cities, carriers filled with fighters. The Empire would not allow another humiliation. But deep inside the Empire, cracks began to appear. Governors whispered about rebellion. Soldiers questioned their leaders, and in the dark, even slaves spoke the word Earth as if it were a beacon of hope. Back in the Senate, a messenger ran in with trembling hands. "The humans," he stammered, "they are not expanding. They are not invading. They are simply waiting for us to come again." The senators fell silent. This silence was more terrifying than any battle because they knew what it meant. Humanity was not afraid. Humanity was not desperate. They were confident, an old senator whispered. a species that waits for war instead of running from it. Such beings are dangerous, more dangerous than we have ever faced, but the Empire could not turn back. Their pride was too deep, their arrogance too strong. The second fleet was ordered, greater than the first, armed with the deadliest weapons, and at its heart stood the flagship Leviathan, a warship said to be unstoppable on Earth. Hidden command stations lit up with alerts. Satellites caught the movement of the Leviathan and its fleet. The human council gathered, their eyes hard. "They are coming," one leader said, "and this time, they bring their monster." The general answered with calm fire in his eyes. "Then it is time to wake ours beneath Earth's oceans." In chambers forgotten by the world above, something stirred. Machines older than the war itself began to hum. The titans of Earth, silent for centuries, prepared to rise. The Empire thought Earth was shaken, but in truth, it was the Empire that trembled. Their pride blinded them, but their fear had already begun to grow. And as the second fleet moved across the stars, the galaxy whispered the same question. Would the Empire break Earth, or would Earth break the Empire? The Titan awakens. The second fleet of the Galactic Empire crossed the stars like a storm. Thousands of warships, carriers, and dreadnoughts, and at its center sailed the Leviathan, the largest warship ever built by the Empire. Its hull bristling with weapons, its engines glowing like suns on every imperial world. Citizens watched the departure with pride. The Senate declared, "This time Earth will burn. This time their warning will be crushed." Banners waved. Cheers filled the cities, but behind the cheers, whispers of fear lingered back on Earth. Silence filled the war rooms. The generals and leaders did not cheer. They did not boast. They only watched. They knew what was coming. They knew arrogance would drive the Empire to bring everything. Deep under the oceans, in vaults sealed for generations, machines began to stir. Massive doors opened in the seabed, and water boiled as ancient engines came alive. The Titans of Earth, colossal warships hidden for centuries, rose from the dark waters, their black hulls glistening, their weapons humming with energy. These were not ordinary ships, they were legends. Machines forged in secret when humanity first learned it was not alone in the galaxy. In a hidden control room, an old engineer whispered with awe. They said the Titans would never rise again. But here they are, awakened, ready to fight. The Empire's fleet entered the solar system with thunder, their sensors scanning, their captains smiling. "Show yourselves." "Humans," one admiral sneered. "Show us your toys, so we may crush them." But then the Titans rose, one by one, breaking through the ocean's surface, water cascading off their massive hulls. They climbed into the skies like mountains of steel, their engines lighting the horizon. Across the Empire's fleet, silence fell. For the first time, the aliens saw something that made them hesitate. "By the stars," one officer whispered. "What are those on the Leviathan's bridge?" The fleet commander narrowed his eyes. "Monsters," he said. "Human monsters," but his voice shook despite his words. Above Earth, the Titans formed into a line, their cannons glowing, their armor layered with strange energy fields. They moved slowly but with unstoppable force, and every human soldier who looked upon them felt strength rise in their hearts. A human general spoke to his people, his voice steady. "This is what we have hidden. This is what we have built. The Empire believes we are weak, but today, the Titans will speak for us." The Empire launched its first strike. Thousands of beams and missiles filled the void, streaks of light cutting through space. The Leviathan unleashed a torrent of fire meant to tear worlds apart. The Titans did not move, their shields flared. The attacks crashed against them. Waves of energy rippled but held. The ocean-born giant stood unbroken. Then came the reply. One Titan fired its main cannon. A beam brighter than the sun, it ripped through 3 dreadnoughts in a single strike. Turning them into ash, silence gripped the Empire's fleet. Their pride shattered in an instant. Human ships, smaller and faster, darted around the Titans, striking the Empire's flanks. Their attacks coordinated with the giant war machines. It was not chaos, it was precision. In the Empire's command, panic spread. "This cannot be," captains shouted. "They were supposed to be primitive. How can they wield such weapons on the Leviathan?" The commander screamed, "Focus all fire on the Titans! Bring them down!" Every Imperial gun turned toward the giants, but the Titans answered with fury. Waves of energy, storms of missiles, blasts of light that carved through steel. The galaxy watched in shock, reports raced across the stars. Planets that once bowed to the Empire whispered the same words. The Titans of Earth have awakened, back in the human war room. The general's eyes burned with fire. "They will not listen to words," he said. "So we will let the Titans write the truth in the sky, And above Earth, the sky burned as giants clashed with giants. The Leviathan against the Titans, pride against will, arrogance against survival. The Empire thought numbers would save them, but they had never faced machines born of human fear, human resilience, and human rage. The Titans were awake now, and they would not rest until the galaxy understood the warning. Earth was not to be messed with. Humanity's fury. The battle over Earth burned like a second sun. The Leviathan and the Empire's fleet filled the skies with fire. Thousands of weapons screamed across the void. Explosions bloomed brighter than stars, but in the heart of the storm, the Titans stood unbroken. Their massive cannons roared, tearing through the Empire's warships. Every shot shook the heavens. Every strike erased a piece of the Empire's pride. On the Leviathan's bridge, the commander shouted in rage, "They are only one planet, one world. How can they fight us like gods?" But even as he shouted, his voice cracked, for he had never seen such fury. The Titans advanced slowly, their weapons glowing. Human ships danced between them, striking at weak points. Fighters dove through enemy formations, dropping payloads that ripped through Imperial hulls. In the silence of space, a single human pilot whispered into her comm, "For Earth." Then she plunged into an Imperial carrier, her ship blazing as the explosion consumed them both. Her sacrifice opened a hole in the enemy lines, and the Titans fired through it. 3 dreadnoughts shattered. Their wreckage spinning into darkness, the Empire's formations collapsed. Their once proud fleets turned into scattered prey. On Earth, billions watched from screens and rooftops, their hearts pounding. They saw their Titans rise, their fleet strike, their people fight without fear. Cheers and tears filled every city. Humanity had never been so united in the Senate of the Empire. Panic spread. Senators shouted over each other. Some demanded retreat. Others screamed for more reinforcements, but their words were hollow. Reports showed the truth: humanity was winning. "They are rewriting the order of the galaxy," one senator whispered, trembling. "If they defeat us here, no one will fear us again." Back in the war room under the mountains, a human general stood tall, his voice calm. "Strike harder, show them our fury. Let them know that this war is not theirs to command. It is ours," the Titans answered with storms of fire. Their cannons unleashed continuous beams, ripping through Imperial armor like paper. Their missile bays opened, waves of destruction washing across the enemy fleet. The Leviathan fought back with everything. Its super cannons roared, blasting one Titan. Shields cracked, armor peeled, but the giant did not fall. Instead, it fired back. A beam straight through the Leviathan's side, tearing it open. Flames consumed its decks on the bridge. The Empire's commander clutched the rail, smoke filling the air. "This cannot be," he gasped. "We are the Empire. We cannot lose." But his words were lost in the screams of his crew. Humans pressed their advantage, every pilot, every ship fought like it was the last day of their lives. There was no retreat, no hesitation, only fury. An alien officer on a smaller cruiser whispered in despair, "They are not fighting for conquest, they are fighting for survival. That is why we cannot stop them." The galaxy watched in silence as the Empire's fleet crumbled. One by one their ships fell. One by one their commanders lost hope. In the final strike, the Titans formed a line, their cannons glowing brighter than ever before. Together they fired, a storm of energy that split the Leviathan in half. The Empire's pride burned, torn into ruins. Silence followed, broken only by the screams of dying ships. The once mighty armada of the Empire now drifted as wreckage across the solar system. On Earth, people cried, shouted, embraced. They had faced the greatest power of the galaxy, and they had not only survived, they had triumphed in the human war room. The general bowed his head, his voice heavy. "They will come again. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but they will come. And when they do, we will be ready. We will always be ready." The Empire's survivors fled into the dark, their ships limping back to distant worlds, carrying with them a story that would spread faster than light. The story of a planet that dared to resist and unleashed fury like the galaxy had never seen. Humanity had spoken not with words, but with fire, and the message was clear. Earth was not prey, Earth was the predator. Respect or ruin, the wreckage of the Empire's fleet drifted like broken bones across the void. Shattered dreadnoughts spun silently. Flames flickered in the emptiness. The Leviathan, once their pride, lay split in two, glowing with dying fire. Human ships glided through the ruins, silent and steady. They did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They only watched, for they knew this was not the end. The Empire still lived, pride still burned, and arrogance would rise again. In the Senate of the Galactic Empire, silence reigned. Senators who once laughed and mocked Earth now trembled. Their golden robes felt heavy, their voices weak. Reports of defeat filled the chamber. "Our fleets are gone," one whispered. "Our strength shattered. Our enemies will rise against us," another slammed his fist on the table. "This is a disgrace. They are only humans. How can one world break an empire?" But deep inside, they already knew the answer. Humanity was different. They did not fight for conquest. They did not fight for glory. They fought for survival, and survival made them unstoppable on Earth. The Titans returned to their silent rests, sinking back into oceans and bunkers hidden once more. Humanity did not march to the stars in conquest. They did not demand tribute. Instead, they waited, knowing the Empire would come again or others would rise. In the human council chamber, the general stood before the leaders, his voice calm. "We gave them a warning. They ignored it. We gave them a battle. They lost. Now we give them a choice, respect or ruin." A signal was sent across the galaxy. It was not long, it was not loud, just a simple message, but its weight was heavier than any fleet. "To the Empire and to all who hear, Earth will not bow. Earth will not kneel. We seek peace. But if you bring war, know this, we will fight, and you will fall, respect us, or be destroyed." The message spread faster than fire, reaching alien markets, spaceports, and thrones. Common folk whispered the words in awe. Rebels in chains felt hope. Even slaves raised their heads and murmured, "Earth," in the Senate. The High Lord of the Empire stood trembling. He had once called humans insects, but now his voice shook. "If we fight again, we will break. If we kneel, we lose our pride. What do we do?" The chamber erupted in arguments. Some demanded vengeance, others begged for peace. The empire that once ruled with iron now found itself paralyzed by fear. Across the galaxy, other empires, small and large, watched closely. They had feared the Galactic Empire for centuries. Now they feared Earth more on a distant colony. A child pointed to the sky and asked, "Who are the humans?" Her father answered softly, "The ones who said no, the ones who stood when no one else dared." Back on Earth, life continued. Children played under the blue sky. Cities glowed with light, but everyone knew the truth. Humanity had stepped into history, and nothing would be the same. In the silence of the war room, the general looked at the stars, his voice barely above a whisper. "We did not choose this path, but now we walk it. The galaxy will learn. Earth is not prey. Earth is the warning." And so the tale of humanity spread, a tale of a small world that rose against the greatest empire and did not fall. Some called them monsters, some called them saviors. But all agreed on one truth: Earth was not to be messed with.